We are officially less than 2 weeks away from the 35th annual Royal Rumble pay-per-view, which is the same thing as a pay-per-view, but takes longer to say, premium live event. Tonight's show saw Bobby Lashley and Becky Lynch respond to their respective challengers for the WWE title and Raw Women's Championship. Lashley also took on Seth Rollins in a singles bout, while the man teamed up with Doudrop to face Liv Morgan and Bianca Belair. We also saw Randy Orton and Riddle adjust to life without the Raw tag titles around their waists, following their loss last week to Alpha Academy. Let's take a look at what happened on tonight's episode of Monday Night Raw, the penultimate episode of Monday Night Raw before the Royal Rumble, for this is Ridiculously Raw. Welcome, everybody, to Ridiculously Raw, the most must-see show on YouTube and Streaming.com today. I am your host, Anthony Florio, joined as always by good old MF Michael Fletcher and the phenom Michael Bullock, fresh off another one of our legendary Raw chats. I don't think we will have the First Lady of the Wrestling Forum, the Twisted Angel Didi Whitson. I don't think we're going to see her tonight. It's been a very emotional weekend for all of us here, but as the old saying goes, obla-di, obla-da, life goes on. And trust us, we will do just that here tonight. So, gentlemen, let's put this weekend behind us and let's have some fun tonight like we always do. So, Monday Night Raw, the penultimate episode from the BOK Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma, exclusively on the USA Network. And we started it off with the Raw Women's Champion, Big Time Bex, cutting a promo, interrupted by Doudrop, and then interrupted by Bianca Belair and Liv Morgan. And that led into their tag team match, where it was a strange bedfellows match, if you will. Becky Lynch teaming with Doudrop, and they squared off against Bianca Belair and Liv Morgan. And the winners of the match, in an even 3 minutes, it was Becky Lynch and Doudrop. Doudrop with that, I guess you could call it bonsai drop like move for the 1, 2, 3. So, and then she actually did it to Becky after the match was over. So, all right. Not really much to say about this. I mean, the promos before the match were fine, and most of the bout itself looked good, but the ending was messy and completely killed the momentum of the match. Doudrop forgot to tag herself in at first, so she had to go back to the corner and do it before coming back in to hit a splash for the win. It was all a little awkward. They could have spent less time talking and given them more time to work. That would have made this more enjoyable, but it was still nice to see the women's division get the first 20 minutes or so of the show. So probably maybe 1 to 1.5 for the effort. So, we're not going to really get into that. We are going to get into this though. We know what the number one problem of Monday Night Raw is, and that is repetitiveness. Same match week after week after week after week. We actually had a fresh matchup tonight because, to the best of my knowledge, I don't recall these two ever squaring off before. The United States Heavyweight Champion Damian Priest squared off against Kevin Owens, but before that, we had a special edition of the KO show, and KO's guest was Seth Rollins. But before that, WWE made an official announcement earlier this evening. On Saturday night, February the 19th, the WWE Elimination Chamber pay-per-view is heading to Saudi Arabia. That's right. The next pay-per-view event, or as they call it, premium live event, but us being the traditionalists that we are, we still call it pay-per-view. And the Elimination Chamber pay-per-view, we heard dirt sheets about this, and guess what? WWE made it official tonight. Saturday night, February the 19th, the Elimination Chamber is going to be in Saudi Arabia. The Jeddah Superdome is where this event will take place, and we're already excited about it. I mean, second straight Saudi show. I'm actually looking forward to, because Crown Jewel was actually great. It may have been their best one yet back in October. So we'll have to wait and see how this one goes. But anyways, now we get into this. The KO show. Seth Rollins was the guest, and then Damian Priest interrupted, and then that led into the match with Damian Priest squaring off against Kevin Owens. And Kevin Owens wins the match, 10 minutes and 55 seconds. All right. Owens and Rollins always know exactly what they need to do to make any segment work. Their exchanges in recent months have been nothing short of hilarious. The match between Priest and Owens was decent and solid, but not quite as physical as you would expect with these two competitors. The second half was much more competitive than the first. If the title was on the line, they probably would have gone harder. If Owens were to win the U.S. title and Rollins won the Universal Championship, having them as two of the top singles champions on the same show would provide some great entertainment. But I'm going to give the match 3.5 to 3 3/4 of a star. Yes, it was a little rough at first, but Bullock and I, we got into this during our Raw chat tonight, and I felt that it was a very good match, and Owens got the win. So, good old MF Michael Fletcher, come on in, and as I give it to you, Owens pinned the champion, albeit by nefarious means, to get there. He hit the Stone Cold Stunner after he faked the knee injury. But nonetheless, KO got the win, and we all know what that means now, don't we?
Yeah, automatic championship committee moment, automatic opportunity now at the United States Championship. Remember, this was a contenders match, and now this would solidify Kevin Owens as the next challenger for the United States title and to battle with Damian Priest one more time. It was a solid match for what it was worth. I thought it was an excellent battle, and yes, they did everything right with this storyline. I didn't really like the ending though. I think the ending was less to be desired, but it does play into the narrative of Kevin Owens. It plays into his heel gimmick. To get that victory was perfectly needed, and it actually solidifies them. So no, at the end of the day, they did an excellent job telling the story. Yes, we were looking for a little more aggression by both men, but we're not that. It wasn't for the title, so obviously they weren't going to push it too hard. But it was still a solid match for what it was worth. So, like you said, 3 to 3.25. I'll even call it one of the top fights of the night. I was thoroughly impressed. So, Michael Bullock, is yours.
Yeah, I mean, this was definitely a good match here. I mean, I definitely like the story that was told with these both of these guys. I mean, yeah, the promo segment was good, but this match I'll definitely give it 3.25. I mean, yeah, and who knows, maybe not, obviously with this victory, I think it puts Owens in line to be the one to get the next shot at the U.S. title. So, yeah, there's really nothing more to add to it. So, Florio, I give it to you.
All right, and we move on to another segment, right out of the Campy Comedy Files here. Alpha, the new Raw Tag Team Champions, Chad Gable and Otis, the Alpha Academy. And I'm not kidding you. They actually held a graduation ceremony. Otis was supposedly the valedictorian of this, but they had a graduation ceremony, and then it was interrupted by Riddle donning the cap and gown, a different colored cap and gown, to which Corey Graves called him, said he looked like the Statue of Liberty, and Riddle basically tried to goad Gable and Otis into a rematch, where Gable said, Okay, but on one condition. You and Randy have to beat us in a mental test or something like that. Like some sort of aptitude test, an academic challenge. In a way, almost like what we saw last summer with that Capital One College Bowl that we saw on Peacock that Peyton and Cooper Manning did an excellent job on. And they accept it. And next week, we're going to see the Alpha Academy and RK Bro in an academic challenge. And I guess if RK Bro does better, then they'll get their rematch for the Raw Tag Team Championship. So, oh yeah, stay tuned for that. Said no one. All right, we're gonna bypass that. Although the one good thing about it was, we had a vintage Randy Orton moment. He snuck up behind Chad Gable, laid him out with an RKO, and then we got to see Randy Orton in a cap and gown, and we got to see that vintage Randy Orton pose in that cap and gown. So that was pretty cool. That was the only good thing out of that. But other than that, no. Well, we're not going to waste any time on that. Austin Theory versus Finn Balor was the next matchup. And Austin Theory wins the match 6 minutes and 5 seconds. Do you guys want to take this for a spin? Or
I mean, the match was okay, but I really feel bad for Finn Balor, man. I mean, he is gone downward spiral. Yes, Austin Theory has definitely got some big wins under his belt, and it looks like the sky is definitely rising for Austin Theory, man. I'm going to openly admit this, man. He keeps going. He could be wearing some championship gold here in 2022.
Okay. So I'll take it for me as the host of this show. I'll give a quick thought on this. Theory is a good athlete who works well with a variety of opponents, but this whole thing he has going on with Vince McMahon is not helping his character the way WWE thinks it is. Balor, as usual, looked crisp with every movement. Some performers are on another level from the rest of the crowd, and Balor is definitely one of them. Balor will get the win back eventually, but at least WWE is committing to this push, even if the character behind it can be annoying at times, that being Austin Theory. So probably about a 2.5 star so fight. Then we had Rhea Ripley squaring off against Nikki ASH. Well, actually, no, before that, Omos squaring off against Reggie. Omos won the match, and Bullock and I, we actually had a little bit of some fun with this during our Raw chat. I told Bullock, we both had Omos winning, of course. I said, I got Omos winning in less than a minute. Bullock said, I got him winning in 5 seconds. Well, not quite 5 seconds, Bullock, but I got the official time finally. Omos won the match in 28 seconds. So there you go. And what 2 words I'm about to say when it comes to this. Delicious squash. That's all there is to say on that. Yes, there was some 24/7 silliness. MF's girl, Dana Brooke, was being bombarded by all the 24/7 contenders, such as R-Truth and Akira Tozawa and Tamina. But we're not going to waste any time with that. That was obviously a dud. What can you say about a match like that? It made Omos look dominant, but we already know he's a monster. So did any of this help anyone? No. Now we're going to get into, then we had this next segment, which was Maryse, who wanted a women's face-to-face. She wanted Beth Phoenix, but Edge came out with her anyway because Edge has been this ain't his first rodeo. He knows a rat when he sees it, and then from there they they had their words, and then Miz came out, and Edge and Miz got into it for a little bit, and then Maryse actually laid out Beth Phoenix, hit her with her purse from behind, but the purse was loaded. It had a brick in it. They put a brick in the purse. obviously that's pretty much that might have been what Sherry Martel had in her purse when she was Sensational Queen Sherry. All those times she helped Randy Macho King Savage in the past, but it was fine in terms of putting some needed heat on Maurice heading into the mixed tag team match at the Royal Rumble. So, not really gonna get much more into that. By the way, what happened with Nikki ASH and Rhea Ripley? There was no match. The women's tag team champions, Carmella and Queen Zelina. And yes, MF, if you're wondering, Bullock and I, we bent the knee for your lady, of course, because we know how you are about that. They said some words and it set it up, Nikki, and then Nikki went to town on Rhea again. So no match there, but the segment itself worked to solidify Nikki's heel turn. Not anything special, but Nikki sold the intensity of her attacks well. But now we're gonna get into something a little bit more fun here. Eight-man tag team action. The Mysterios, Ray and Dominic, along with the Street Profits, Montez Ford and Angelo Dawkins, they teamed up against the Dirty Dogs, Robert Roode and Dolph Ziggler, Apollo Crews and Commander Aziz, and the Babyface team. The Mysterios and the Street Profits win the match 8 minutes and 15 seconds, as it was Montez Ford from the heavens for the win. MF, all I can say is, as we always like to say with matches like these, fun little sprint.
Absolutely. Totally agreed with everything you just said there. This was indeed a fun little sprint. Solid match for what it was worth, and a very good outcome to see the Street Profits and the Mysterios win. All these men will be a part of the Royal Rumble match. Street Profits already declared themselves in. Mysterios declared themselves in. I wouldn't be surprised if the Dirty Dogs are in it, and Commander Aziz and Apollo. I would not be surprised if they will be also a part of the 30-man over-the-top rope battle Royal Rumble match. Winner goes to WrestleMania to main event on one of the 2 nights. And at the end of the day, this was a solid match. Like you said, fun little sprint. About 3 stars is what I'll give it, because of the fact that there was some good ring psychology, there was some good storyline progression, but I really liked the way that the Mysterios and the Profits were working, man. Normally 8-man, it's a hit or miss. It's a hit or miss a lot of times in wrestling. It doesn't matter what company you are in. Impact, AEW, Ring of Honor, WWE. Sometimes when you get these pairings, sometimes they work. Other times it blows up in your face. This one worked. This was a solid match. For me, they did a really good job with this. So 3 stars for me. Nothing more to add. Mike Bullock, it's yours.
What did you give it?
3 stars.
Yeah, that's what I'm going to give it to. I'm going to give it 3 stars for this. I mean, this was a fun sprint here. I mean, I liked what I saw from both of these individuals. Of course, they'll be in the Royal Rumble match, because you saw afterwards they were basically throwing each other over the top rope, and yeah, you even saw Ray doing it to his son Dominic, which goes to show you guys that, as we've known for so long, in the Royal Rumble match, what is it, Florio?
In the immortal words of the late, great Howard Finkel, it is every man for himself.
That is correct, and we saw the perfect example of it. No friends, only enemies. So, nothing more to say, Florio. It is yours.
And I'm going to steal a Jesse proverb here, and I'm hopeful that MF will. MF might know where I'm going with this, but I'm going to do it anyway. It's a shame what happens when money is involved.
Absolutely.
That was a Jesse proverb. So
yeah.
I think that was like 89 or something like that.
Smash. Yeah, it was definitely 89. But the thing is, also a Jesse proverb from the 1990. It's all about the luck of the draw. the draw is always the most important thing. The later you are in that Rumble, the odds of you winning it goes a little more higher. Even though last year's Rumble winners, I know Bianca won hers from the number 3 spot.
Edge was number 1.
And Edge was number 1. So that doesn't necessarily mean anything, but luck of the draw could give you any type of situation. But yeah, Edge at 1, Bianca at 3. This was one of those Rumbles where if you drew early, you had the shot of winning it all. So you had the Iron Man and Iron Woman of the Royal Rumbles last year. What are we going to look like? What's going to be that magic number in this year Rumble? We don't know. We'll just have to wait and find out.
Yeah, and he talked about possibly Commander Aziz entering. All right, yeah. If Commander Aziz enters, what if Omos enters? What if Omos and Commander Aziz have a moment in the Rumble match? That's what I want to see.
There's always been that big man versus big man square off at the Rumble. So that could definitely happen. But I hate to say this, but also what could also happen at a Royal Rumble, and this very well, Anthony, the Pearl Harbor job. It's a gang up on the big men, and we've seen that happen in Rumbles where it's taken 5, 6, 7, 8 men to eliminate one big dude. So the only exception to that rule was Great Khali and Beth Phoenix outsmarted Khali by basically romancing him right out of the Rumble.
Oddly enough, MF, I do that. Bullock and I, we do our little road to the Royal Rumble to get ready for the Rumble every year. And ironically, I relived that Royal Rumble earlier today. So, and I saw that moment. So, yeah, that was 2010 from the Phillips Arena in Atlanta, which Edge won. So that was the first.
And speaking of women, obviously, I'm already at the 2018 Royal Rumble where I'm currently at the inaugural Women's Royal Rumble match, which was history in the making. Of course, we were there when we heard the announcement of it, which says something the three of us will never forget.
Absolutely not. December 18th, 2017, 1 week before Christmas, and needless to say, the three of us got an early Christmas gift that night. And go back into the archives right here on the Tone 25, and you can relive the thoughts that we had on that night, as well as Dee Dee Woodson, because she was with us for that show as well. And yeah, that was a history-making moment. That's a moment we'll never forget for as long as we live. And hopefully we'll get a moment like that come Mother's Day night for the pay-per-view that will be here. But that's late years away. So but anyway, getting back to this, I mean, that's what I personally want to see. I want to see Omos and Commander Aziz have a face-to-face, eye-to-eye, nose-to-nose moment, like MF would say. And MF just hit us with a gorilla proverb, Pearl Harbor job. That's a gorilla monsoon saying. So, oh yeah, I told you we were all going to have fun tonight. So, but anyways, this is funny. Jason Powell from ProWrestling.net. This is what he said in regards to what Bullock brought up how Ray eliminated his own son in a sense. Well, listen to what Jason Powell had to say about it. If my dad threw me over the top rope, I'd slap that old man into the retirement home. Okay, not really, but
okay then.
I think he was trying for a joke there, but
yeah, that sounded like a joke, but it kind of, I hate to say it, but in the immortal words of the beautiful Kay Adams from Good Morning Football. Oh, by the way, who was on the Pat McAfee show today? Wah, wah, wah.
Okay, so
and let's just say it was a swing and a miss.
Yeah. So all right, memo to me, edit that out. All right. So all right. So all kidding aside, Did I? No, I don't think I gave my. I don't think I gave my thoughts.
No, you never gave your 2 cents.
No. All right. Definitely agree. 3 stars. Fun little sprint. Sleeper fight of the night. One of those. It's one of those matches that doesn't have a lot of storyline behind it, but it was more designed for the live crowd than those watching at home. Bouts like this give fans a chance to see a bunch of people they like all at once, even if it does lead to most of them not getting enough time in the ring. Ray throwing his son over the top rope after the match to prove that the Rumble will be every man for himself, as the late great Howard Finkel always said, was such a dad thing to do. It may have been the best part of this whole segment. So that's really all there is to say on that. So then we had another one of those Alexa sessions, nothing to speak of there. And we have 3 things announced for next week. And unfortunately, they're all segments. The Alpha Academy aptitude test with RK Bro, the academic challenge. There's going to be a birthday party for Maurice. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to go off without a hitch. What could possibly go wrong? Everything. But this one segment has possibilities. Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley are going to have a weigh-in. And MF, you know about weigh-ins from boxing and UFC. Some of those can get very heated. I know you've seen a lot of weigh-ins, and I know some of them have gotten very heated, haven't they?
Oh, yeah. There's been a little bit of some pushing and shoving and everything else. Sometimes I definitely love those weigh-ins, especially UFC-style weigh-ins. Normally Dana White would be there or somebody. So I could definitely see maybe if they try to do it UFC style, normally they'll do the weigh-in beforehand, and then they'll do the official, or what they call the official weight. Once they do that, then they'll have the customary photo op and whatnot. You'll get to see the face-to-face. That's where you'll probably get to see Adam Pearce and Sonya Deville probably overseeing the weigh-in. And yeah, that could lead to some major fireworks next week between Brock Lesnar and Bobby Lashley. Everybody knows Lesnar and Lashley, they'll probably tip around the 270, 280 mark. Both men are. So, I mean, this could be very interesting next week. Without a doubt, that will definitely be the most must-see thing for next week's Monday Night Raw, the weigh-in between Lashley and Lesnar, because, you know, this has been a match that WWE Universe and as a matter of fact, the entire wrestling world has been waiting for. We've been begging for a match like this for maybe 3 or 4 years now. And like you said, this will be the last Monday Night Raw before the Royal Rumble on that Saturday night. Man, this is going to be interesting to watch. That's all I will say.
Absolutely. And I can't wait to see it. So not much more to say there. That'll be the go home. That'll be on the go home show for the Royal Rumble next Monday night as we kick off Royal Rumble week, as that'll emanate from the Huntington Center in it's the Huntington Center in Toledo, Ohio. That's where this show will be next week. So all right. And then from there, it was the main event. It was Bobby Lashley versus Seth Rollins. Bobby Lashley wins the match via disqualification in 14 minutes and 5 seconds. Michael Bullock, we talked about it on our Raw chat. The Hurt Business ruining what ended up being an otherwise very entertaining main event.
And what was the time again?
14 minutes and 5 seconds.
Yeah, because of the DQ finish. I mean, look, by default, this was but yeah, this was definitely the fight of the night. But I could have gone and give it maybe 3 3/4, but I'm only gonna give it 3.5 because of the DQ finish. I mean, it was still a good match, but it's just that DQ ending that just literally rubbed me the wrong way. I mean, but then afterwards, Florio, we had ourselves a SmackDown invasion. The Usos.
The SmackDown Tag Team Champions, the Usos, obviously, I'm sure, at the behest
taking
of
out Rollins. Yeah, so yeah, obviously the Usos sending a message on behalf of the tribal chief to Seth Rollins. So yeah, there's really nothing more for me to say. So Florio, it is yours.
Yeah, I'm going to give it in excess of 3.5 to 3 3/4. Bumped down from 4. I was going to give it 4, but then the DQ finish ruined it. But it, yes, I mean the cheap finish had to happen, but WWE shows may be hit or miss most weeks, but the main event usually delivers. This was another example of why two great competitors will always be able to give a good performance with enough time. The only problem was the finish. WWE clearly wanted to protect both men before their respective world title matches at the Royal Rumble, so it booked this kind of finish because neither man has to eat the loss. It would be a good strategy if WWE didn't go to this well so often. Lashley and Rollins had great chemistry, and WWE should revisit this as a long-term feud down the road. Even with the DQ, this was still a strong main event. So overall, it was a 4-star match, but I'm bumping it down to 3.5 to 3 3/4 for the cheap, clunky finish. Even though they had no choice, they had to protect both men. I mean, they obviously wanted both men to have some sort of momentum going into their respective world title bouts at the Royal Rumble. So not much more to say here. By default, it was the fight of the night, like Bullock said. So, MF, what says you?
Agreed with everything you guys have said. It was definitely a little disappointing that the ending had to come the way it did, but like you said, it protected both men. For one thing, I really got a bad feeling now because if the Hurt Business tries to stick their nose where it doesn't belong, to especially in the fight against Brock Lesnar for the WWE Championship, that's gonna take a little something away from what was undoubtedly one of the most highly anticipated matches. And of course, on top of that, you also got Seth versus Roman, and you also got that situation where, you know, if the Usos stick their nose where it doesn't belong, we might be looking at possible 2 big fights getting tainted at the Royal Rumble, and that's not what we need, especially in that with the magnitude of both matches, because they're both world title fights. Seth versus Roman for the Universal Championship, Brock versus Lashley for the WWE title. You do not want either one of these matches to get tainted in any way, and it's a major 4. Any other pay-per-view, okay, we'll deal with it. We'll be fine with it. But when it's a major 4 event like the Royal Rumble, no, we do not stand for this whatsoever. And we will be on a rant if this happens. It probably won't be over the top, but you will have 3 men, and maybe if Dee Dee Woodson's here, also a lady not happy with WWE. And trust me, this is not the first time WWE has pulled the rug out from under us and ticked us off.
And you know, Dee Dee Woodson will take WWE to the woodshed.
Oh, absolutely, checkered apron and everything.
Yeah, so you get the message, WWE. Do not F this thing up.
Do not mess it up. Do not mess it
up. Otherwise, we ain't going to be happy one iota.
Florio, it's back to you.
All right. I don't know how I'm going to follow that, but I shall do my best, as the great Ben Stein always said. So let's see. Bullock started off the last one, so I guess I will start with the overall review here. All right. Overall, WWE filled the time nicely without giving too much away on a night when they had really strong competition from the first ever Monday night NFL playoff game. which, oh, by the way, the St. Louis Rams won in grand style, putting away the Los Angeles Rams, rather.
I was going to say, I was going to have to correct you, Florio.
No, I caught it. Where, oh, by the way, the Los Angeles Rams won that game tonight in very grand fashion, putting away the Arizona Cardinals 34-11. And we'll address that in a little bit, but because that's future content. But anyways, they won't be opposed by football again until the new season starts in September. So it should be very interesting to see what type of boost they will get in the ratings, starting with next week's Royal Rumble Go Home show. We had 3 good matches here tonight. You had the main event with Rollins and Lashley. You had that Damian Priest and Kevin Owens match. You had the 8-man tag with the Mysterios and the Street Profits against the Dirty Dogs, Apollo and Commander Aziz. And you had 3 good matches. I mean, we had a lot of segments on this show, and unfortunately, we're going to get a lot more segments next week, even though there is one we're looking forward to. The other 2, not so much, because both of those are probably going to be cluster bleeps, but, we'll see. But with that weigh-in segment, that's definitely going to be must-see television, especially if they put that in the main event spot. So, well, I got a feeling that they're going to say that. They're going to put that in the main event spot next week. I don't know why, but that's just how I feel. So, unfortunately, we did have a lot of cutouts here. 3 good matches, some good segments here and there. So, I probably say that would warrant a rating in excess of 6, maybe 6.5. I think that's the best I can give this show here tonight. So that's really all I can say on that. 6.5 for me. So MF, your overall thoughts on this penultimate Monday Night Raw before the Royal Rumble?
Yeah, somewhat of a disappointment. I think a lot of people really felt like it could have been a lot more better, a lot more stronger. But like you said, they were going up against some very good competition tonight on television and everything else, and even in the sports world, as many of us today was celebrating Mr. Martin Luther King Day. And with the way that they did, I kind of felt like WWE kind of punted this week, and I totally agree with your sentiment. But they did give us 3 solid matches, so I guess you can give it easily a 6 out of 10. I think 6.5 is a little bit of a reach, Anthony, but I will go solid 6 here. So 6 out of 10 for me. Bullock, go ahead, it's yours.
Yeah, 6 out of 10 for me. I mean, I thought it was an okay show, not the greatest, but you did have 3 good matches. I mean, yeah, you did have some cutouts here too, but yeah, so there's really nothing more to add. So, Florio, if you're ready, it's time for your Tony's take.
Yes, it is, and you know how we do it. We're back to normal for the first time in a while, because we had the holidays and some other things, but we're ready to go now. My normal Tony's take back, and it's here and now. Impact Wrestling 205 Live, and we started off with Impact Wrestling from the Bomb Factory in Dallas, Texas. The fallout from the Hard to Kill pay-per-view, and on the Before the Impact pre-show, it was Black Taurus defeating Matthew Waywalt, and we move into the main card, and it actually started with a promo segment by W. Morrissey, and he was on the warpath. He wanted Moose, and he wanted the World Heavyweight Championship, and Moose said no. Morrissey was PO'd. He went after Scott D'Amore, and Scott D'Amore says, "Hey, we booked another world title match for this evening, and you're not going to interfere in this match tonight." And then Scott D'Amore gets a word in his headset that something was going on at ringside, and it turned out that what they're calling the Rogue Crew from Ring of Honor, Mike Bennett, Matt Taven, Vincent, and PCO, along with Maria Kanellis, and they went and they attacked D'Lo Brown. D'Lo Brown, he's not a wrestler anymore. D'Lo Brown was a great wrestler. He was a solid wrestler. Part of the Nation of Domination, and had some moderate single success. former European and Intercontinental champion, and a fan favorite at times. And but the Road Crew from ROH, they jumped him and they put him through a table. And Tom Hannafan, aka Tom Phillips, who's now the new voice of Impact Wrestling, replacing the recently released Matt Striker, he pretty much had to fly solo for the rest of the show. Although we did have some guest commentators joining him for the remainder of the show, and it started with Chris Bay and the Laredo Kid. The X Division champion Trey Miguel joined Tom Hannafan on commentary for this match. Bay and Laredo Kid, and the Laredo Kid wins the match, 12 minutes and 49 seconds, 3-star match, fun X Division match. It felt like Bay was going to win and built to Bay versus Trey, but maybe that's coming down the line. Laredo Kid is really awesome, but Bay feels like a star in the making, especially the way the match was booked. I'm not mad if we get Trey and Laredo Kid in the singles match, because that should be a fun match, though. Then from there, Ace Austin and Madman Fulton, although it was more Ace Austin, they joined Hannafan on commentary for the Impact Wrestling TV show debut of Speedball Mike Bailey. He went up against Jake Something, and Speedball Mike Bailey wins in 4 minutes and 17 seconds, 2 3/4 of a star. Solid showcase for Bailey. It allowed Jake to continue looking awesome as well. We could be leading to a Mike Bailey versus Ace Austin match, which would be a good match. Bailey seems like a potential home run for Impact. The crowd is already aware of him and ready to chant for him. I'm glad that Jake Something has some wins recently, because it adds to this win for Mike, and Jake still looked really strong in defeat. Then we had a lot of backstage stuff, and then we had Masha Slamovich in a delicious squash over Vert Vixen. Delicious squash. She squashed her in 1 minute and 5 seconds. She's legit. You can feel the respect the crowd has for her. And Josh Alexander, before he cut his promo, he showed a sign of respect. And then Josh Alexander cut a promo, and he was interrupted by someone that gentleman we know very well, a former mainstay in WWE in his own right, a one-time co-holder of the Tag Team Championship, a part of the self-proclaimed world's greatest tag team, with Shelton Benjamin as part of Team Angle back in the day. Yes, you know who I'm talking about. Charlie Haas. Charlie Haas. Yes, Charlie Haas. He interrupted Josh Alexander. They had a verbal exchange, and then they threw down. And we're going to see a match between the two of them. But we'll have to wait and see. So Impact World Heavyweight title on the line, Moose, and they gave Zicky Dice of the Learning Tree the opportunity. Yeah, this was a delicious squash. Moose buried him in 16 seconds. It was nice and short. Poor Zicky never had a chance. And then Morrissey came back out, and all hell broke loose, and that's really all there is to say there. Raj Singh went up against Jonah. Jonah wins in 1 minute 24. Another delicious squash. Jonah's a big man and should be winning in quick fashion. I wonder how long he'll be with Impact. As Scott D'Amore mentioned, he's also working with New Japan. The longer he can work there, the better, and I'm glad they're letting him lean into being more of a babyface badass, so we'll see what happens. All right. Now, for this next match, I'm going to bring in good old MF Michael Fletcher for this, because this is the match, MF, that I know you wanted to get into. You remember it was at the ROH Final Battle event, I believe it was, where Roxy had successfully, I guess he successfully defended the women's title and was interrupted by Deonna Purrazzo. And Deonna Purrazzo challenged her for a title match. And guess what, MF? That match happened this past Thursday night on Impact Wrestling. How about that? I mean, they could have easily dragged this out until a pay-per-view, but no. Or an Impact Plus special maybe, but no. We got it on Access TV, or for those YouTube Impact insiders that have that membership on YouTube. That's only $1 a month. Sweet deal. We got the match right here. Roxy, the Ring of Honor Women's World Champion, versus the AAA Reina de Reinas Women's Champion, Deonna Purrazzo, title for title, winner takes all, and the winner of the match in 14 minutes and 24 seconds, and the unified champion, the virtuosa, Deonna Purrazzo. Deonna retains the Reina de Reinas Championship, and MF, the virtuosa, not even under contract to Impact, or I should say the Ring of Honor. An Impact Wrestling talent is holding the top prize in the ROH women's division. How about it?
Yeah, it definitely was a huge moment, to say the very least. Deonna Purrazzo, the virtuosa, and in many people's minds, the 2020 female wrestler of the year in many circles. I know for us, a few of us disagreed with that,
Yes,
but 2020, you got to say it, man. 2022, she's coming out blazing, red hot, pure fire. You know, the Reina de Reinas champion. Now the Ring of Honor Women's World Champion. But if you notice after the match,
yes,
the Ring of Honor crew showed up. But more importantly,
Maria Kanellis.
And I do believe now that Roxy is out of the picture, it looks like the first lady of Ring of Honor might want to ascend the throne again. Remember, Maria Kanellis, a former Ring of Honor women's champion. So she might be going after that belt again. And this was one of those belts that she really had that was very near and dear to her heart. This was before she left for WWE, but I think she's back with a vengeance to get back what she thought is hers. But with this Road Crew now there, and you saw the numbers game because they cornered Deonna and her buddy, her friend, try to
Matthew Raywald. Matthew Raywald, the former
Matthew Raywald, try to protect Deonna, and it did not go well for him.
Yeah, the former Aiden English. Yeah. I don't. I know MF. We talked about, because I know you don't have. I know you because we know Impact Wrestling doesn't simulcast on Twitch anymore. They the only way you can see it if you don't have Access TV is if you get the Impact Insider membership for only 99 cents a month, and you'll get that, and it airs at 8:30 on Thursday nights, commercial free. So I don't know if MF had a chance to see the match, but I'll give you my thoughts on it because I saw the match, obviously, because I have Access TV. So 3.5 stars. This was the fight of the night. Awesome main event, and adds credence to my belief that Deonna and Mickie would have been a better straight singles match instead of that Texas Death Match, that horribly booked match. But, it is what it is. Deonna is great. We already know this. And so is Roxy. It was the first time I got to see that young lady wrestle. And, it was a treat for me and an experience for me to see her wrestle. Only 20 years old, and she's got a bright future ahead of her. There's no doubt about that. And like I said, Deonna's great. So is Roxy. We got an awesome women's title main event. And I appreciate how much emphasis Impact puts on the women. It's been rumored that Roxy has been signed, which makes sense as she has a ton of potential. And this crowd was firmly behind her despite not seeing her wrestle much before, I assume. But either way, a great showing for two women, put in a great spot to succeed. And like MF said, after the match was over, Maria Kanellis came to the ring, had some words with Deonna, and then husband Mike Bennett, Vincent, Matt Taven, PCO, they surround the virtuosa, and then Matthew Raywald, the former Aiden English, he jumped into the ring to defend her, and he got jumped. And then Willie Mack and Rich Swann made the save, but the numbers were too much as Swann and Mack got laid out by the ROH 5, and they stood tall over the fallen Impact superstars and posed to close the show, which was a 7.5 out of 10, by the way. And I'll be the first to admit, Impact's booking isn't always what I would do, but what they've been doing is good. So you got to give it a chance. This card was really well booked, and I'm thrilled we finally had a new location to get some different backstage settings. It's that little stuff for me. But some of the promo work on this show left something to be desired, but there were also a couple of solid promos as well. Overall, the opener and the main event are worth seeking out. The Mike Bailey showcase was pretty solid, and the squash matches were good for what they were. Hard to complain about a show when you have all of that, as well as all of these Ring of Honor superstars on top of it. So there really isn't much more to say about that. So that was a 7.5 out of 10 for me. So all right, what can we expect for the next show on Thursday night? Well, let me set the table for you, as I do have it here somewhere. All right, here we go. Oh, here we go. Let me see. Now the Impact before the Impact pre-show is moving to the Impact YouTube page, so because the New Japan show is coming back. So, all right, we got 4 matches announced. It'll be Doc Gallows and Joe Doring of Violent by Design teaming up to take on Heath and Rhino. #1 contender for the Knockouts Championship by virtue of her Women's Ultimate X match at Hard to Kill, Tasha Steelz. She's going to go one-on-one with Chelsea Green. Josh Alexander versus Charlie Haas. And MF, this one's for you. We all remember Hard to Kill. We all remember Jonathan Gresham successfully defended the Ring of Honor World Championship against Chris Sabin. Well, guess what? We're going to have Jonathan Gresham's going to defend the Ring of Honor World Championship on this Impact show Thursday night. And he's going to defend against Steve Macklin. You remember Steve Macklin, another former, well, really more of an NXT mainstay. He was Steve Cutler. You remember the Forgotten Sons? That Steve Macklin is going to challenge Jonathan Gresham for the Ring of Honor World Heavyweight title. And that will be under Ring of Honor Pure Rules, and MF knows all about that.
Ring of Honor Pure Rules, guys, it's basically in that you get 3 rope breaks. If you go to the ropes, you use one of the 3 rope breaks. Now, normally, the Pure Rules are either 15 minutes, 30 minutes, or a 1-hour time limit. Because the Ring of Honor World title is on the line, it will be a 60-minute time limit. Now, Pure Rules is basically you basically beat your opponent down so that they have to exhaust their 3 rope breaks. If they do, then any move or any submission hold, if it goes to the ropes again, you cannot have a rope break either, and that's basically how it goes. So it's basically the rope breaks are more than anything else like timeouts in sports, and you waste your timeouts, it's going to be a long night at that point.
All right, so that's what Jonathan Gresham and Steve Macklin are going to do when they battle for the Ring of Honor World title Thursday night on Impact Wrestling, and I can't wait to see it. I mean, I thought the match Gresham had with Sabin was amazing and Hard to Kill. This could be just as amazing, maybe even better. Who knows? But anyways, so all of that will go down this Thursday night on Impact Wrestling, 8 p.m. Eastern on Access TV. But if you don't have it, get that Impact Wrestling Insiders membership on YouTube. It's only 99 cents. Impact Wrestling starting at 8:30 p.m. on Thursday night, and it airs commercial free. So there you go. So all right, so here we go. Now we're going to move on to 205 Live. And all right, Bodie Howard went up against Guru Raj. Bodie Hayward wins in 3 minutes and 44 seconds. It was a bunch of nothing as they weren't given any time, and Hayward didn't get to show much of anything. Crowd was into it, though. Nothing was bad, but there wasn't really much here. Half a star. Valentina Faraz went up against Ivy Nile of the Diamond Mine. Ivy Nile in 4 minutes and 39 seconds. A little more than a squash, but this was enjoyable. Everything they did looked good, and Nile looked like a star. More of this from her, please. 2-star match. And then Braun Breaker, and then the NXT champion, Braun Breaker. Yeah, he cut a promo, and that's it. So 5 out of 10. Weird show, as we barely got 8 minutes of actual wrestling. Throwing Braun Breaker out there on this show seemed weird, but maybe it's the next step into the rebrand of the show. Still winning on the name change. Easy show to watch, but nothing to see other than a fun, delicious squash from Ivy Nile. So 5 out of 10 there, and well, that will put the bow on this latest edition of Ridiculously Raw. We want to thank you all so very much for tuning in, as always. We will be back with you Wednesday night at 10:30 over on Good LMF, Michael Fletcher's channel, BraceFan95, for another edition of Wednesday Night Mayhem, as we will review NXT 2.0 and AEW Dynamite, as always. Thursday, it'll be Strictly Sports NFL Thursday Divisional Playoff Edition. We will preview the 4 divisional playoff games in the NFL. All of those matchups are now set, as it will be the Cincinnati Bengals squaring off against the Tennessee Titans Saturday afternoon at 4:30 on CBS. Saturday night at 8:15 on Fox, the San Francisco 49ers against the Green Bay Packers. And then Sunday at 3 p.m. over on NBC, it will be the Los Angeles Rams squaring off against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. And in the main event, and rightfully so, the rematch of last year's AFC Championship game at 6:30 p.m. on CBS, the Buffalo Bills get their shot at redemption against the 2-time defending AFC champion Kansas City Chiefs. And we're going to get into all of that on Thursday night. And then Friday, we got the Cerebral Smack Talk with MF, as we'll get into Friday Night SmackDown and AEW Rampage, as always, 11 p.m. there. And then right back here next week as we kick off Royal Rumble week next week. So we got that to look forward to. So, all right. So that'll do it. So until Wednesday night for Wednesday Night Mayhem over on the MF channel, BraceFan95, this is Anthony Florio here for Good Old MF, Michael Fletcher. And in spirit, the Phenom, Michael Bullock, and the First Lady of the Wrestling Forum, the Swiss Angel, Dee Woodson. You know the routine, everybody. Thumbs up. Talk to you later. Yeah. Throw it up Fortune 4 style. Bye for now, my friends. God bless. Be good to each other. Have a blessed couple of days. And until Wednesday night for Wednesday Night Mayhem, you've been watching Ridiculously Raw right here on the Tone 25 on YouTube and StreamYard.com. And remember, my friends, no matter what anyone tells you, and especially after what we had to go through this past weekend, wrestling and life is indeed actually real. For everybody who has been a part of this one, for now, Anthony Florio, so long. Bye, everybody. Bye.